Factory defects. The antenna nobody wanted to use and how it saved the smartphone. The glitch that almost killed a legend. In 2010, the world was watching. Apple had just announced the iPhone 4. Thinner, sharper, made of glass and stainless steel. It looked like something out of a sci-fi movie. But only a few days after launch, that futuristic masterpiece turned into a full-blown disaster. People started realizing something weird. If you held the phone in a certain way, the signal bars dropped to zero. Calls failed. The internet froze. What was supposed to be the most advanced smartphone ever suddenly couldn't make a simple phone call. That was the birth of Antennagate. Apple, known for perfection, now looked like it had built the most beautiful but most broken phone on Earth. The metal frame that gave the iPhone 4 its sleek look was actually part of its antenna system. But here's the twist. Your hand conducts electricity now. So every time someone held the phone over that tiny seam connecting the two antennas, one for voice, one for data, it created interference. The stronger your grip, the weaker your signal. In short, the iPhone 4 had a design feature that killed its main purpose. A disaster, right? Well, not exactly, because this factory defect would soon force a revolution, one that shaped every smartphone you've touched since. The antenna no one wanted. Before 2010, phones had those little antenna bumps. Ugly, yes, but reliable. Designers hated them, but engineers swore by them. They worked. Still, companies wanted something smoother, sexier, more compact. The dream was to hide the antenna inside the phone, but that always caused signal loss. Metal and radio waves just don't get along, so most brands compromised, keeping small plastic windows or ridges to let signals escape. Then came Apple, led by design legend Jony Ive, with a bold idea: let's make the frame the antenna. It sounded genius on paper, used the body itself as part of the circuitry. But physics had other plans. As soon as human hands touched that polished stainless steel band, it bridged the signal paths. The phone literally short-circuited itself in your hand. The most advanced phone on the planet turned into a glorified paperweight when you held it naturally. Critics called it the most expensive engineering fail in mobile history. But what nobody expected was that this supposed failure would quietly rewrite the rulebook for the entire industry. The backlash heard around the world. Within weeks, YouTube was flooded with videos, people holding their iPhones, watching the bars drop in real time. News anchors mocked it, tech blogs exploded, and when a frustrated customer emailed Steve Jobs about it, his reply became infamous: just avoid holding it that way. The internet went wild. Apple, the company that sold perfection, now looked careless, arrogant, even ridiculous. Stock prices dipped. Competitors laughed. Nokia ran ads saying, "We design our phones to be held." Ouch. Apple scrambled to contain the damage. In an emergency press conference, Jobs offered a half solution: free rubber bumpers to insulate the frame and stop the short-circuiting. Basically, a band-aid for $1 billion wound. But behind the PR chaos, something fascinating was happening inside the industry. Engineers at Apple and their rivals started rethinking everything they knew about antennas. The iPhone's concept wasn't wrong. It was just too early. When failure sparks innovation. Antennagate forced the tech world to look at something it had always ignored: the invisible science of connectivity. Everyone had been obsessed with screens, processors, and design. Nobody paid much attention to the tiny metal parts that actually connected phones to the world. That changed overnight. Suddenly, antennas became the center of research and design. Apple poured millions into radio frequency innovation, experimenting with new materials, multiband structures, and smart tuning systems that adapted to how you held the phone. Other manufacturers followed suit. Within a few years, integrated antennas became standard, embedded in the frame, hidden under glass, optimized by software. Modern phones now contain several antennas working together, dynamically adjusting their power and direction, all because one company accidentally made their users part of the circuit. Yeah, a complete failure that became the foundation of the smartphone revolution. The day failure became a lesson. Today, engineering schools still teach Antennagate, not as a disaster, but as a case study in innovation under pressure. Apple didn't quit. Instead, it doubled down, learning everything it could from the fiasco. By turning embarrassment into research, the company created an entirely new design philosophy. What was once a joke became a model. The antenna evolved from a dumb piece of metal into an adaptive system, the brain behind your Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, GPS, and 5G. It's why your phone can stream video, send messages, locate satellites, and talk to your watch, all without you ever seeing an antenna sticking out. The funny part? None of this would have happened if Apple hadn't been so stubborn about beauty. The price of pride. Apple was roasted for weeks for not admitting its mistake right away, but over time, people began to see the bigger picture. The iPhone 4's failure had actually pushed the company and the entire industry to grow faster than ever. In the next model, Apple redesigned the frame, isolating each antenna segment with microscopic precision. By the iPhone 6, it had mastered the art of invisible signal channels. And years later, when the iPhone 10 arrived, those antennas worked hand in hand with the 5G revolution. So yeah, the iPhone 4 was flawed, but it paved the way for every smartphone that came after it. The device mocked for losing signal now symbolized the moment phones truly became smart. From disaster to dominance. Here's the real twist. Apple's worst PR nightmare ended up reshaping its competitors. Samsung, Huawei, Google, Motorola, they all took notes. The industry realized that aesthetics and performance couldn't be enemies. You can't have great design that kills functionality, and you can't have great functionality that looks outdated. The solution? Reinvent the antenna. That's when smart tuning became the buzzword. Phones learned to read your grip, sense interference, and automatically reroute signal paths. Today, antennas are basically mini computers, sensing, analyzing, and adapting faster than you blink. So the same technology that once made your call drop now makes sure it never does. The irony of success. The irony couldn't be bigger. Without that public embarrassment, smartphones might still rely on clunky external antennas. The Antennagate fiasco forced the industry to confront a problem everyone had been ignoring. Apple's humiliation accelerated a decade of progress. Every brand wanted to make sure that never happened to them. And that paranoia fueled innovation. Now, engineers test every possible way you could hold, cover, or drop your phone before it ever reaches a store. The nightmare of 2010 became the blueprint for reliability. What used to be a meme became the manual. The antenna that saved the smartphone. In the end, that's the beauty of this story. The iPhone 4's biggest failure became the foundation of modern mobile connectivity. What once killed your signal now gives you Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, 5G, and more, all packed invisibly inside a sleek metal frame. The antenna nobody wanted ended up saving the very idea of the smartphone. Every time you stream a movie, call someone overseas, or scroll through social media, you're holding a piece of that so-called defect, one that works perfectly. Final reflection. The story of the iPhone 4's antenna proves one thing. The line between failure and innovation is razor thin. A bad idea isn't always wrong. Sometimes it's just too early. Apple's mistake didn't destroy the smartphone industry. It saved it. Because sometimes the only way forward is to break what already works. Perfection isn't born flawless. It's forged in embarrassment, rebuilt with courage, and refined through failure. And thanks to one antenna that nobody wanted, we all stayed connected. Factory defects. The iPhone 4 proved that the most expensive mistake can also be the one that connects the world. If you enjoyed this story, hit like and subscribe to Factory Defects to discover more errors that changed everything. Tell us in the comments, what tech failure do you think secretly shaped the future?